everyone, welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews, and this is Retro Reviews. Today we are going to be talking about Star Wars 1977. So my name is Adrian, and you know my co-host Rob. We're going to jump right into it and start talking about this film. Rob, what are your thoughts of this film? Give us all your Star Wars memories about this film.
Well, Adrian, let me tell you right now, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't know if you can tell.
I
Well,
wish I
okay,
had
so
one of those.
yeah, you wish you had one of these. Mine actually can't see the light up, but it does light up. Anyways, I really did. So I guess got onto the Star Wars bandwagon, if you will, kind of later on in my
Yeah,
life, but I really did enjoy the first Star Wars. I mean, if you want to say all three are probably one of the greatest trilogies. But as for the first one
yeah,
itself, it was just even I feel like the time that I watched it, just the story, the graphics, the lightsaber battles. I mean, if you look at them today compared to what you see now, the fighting and stuff doesn't really,
yeah.
I mean, hold up. But for the time, and even when I watched it, I was probably, I want to say maybe like 13 or 12 when I watched
Okay,
it. And it was still enjoyable. Like I was still, I was watching those Saturday morning
yeah,
cartoons, and I was kind of somewhere along those lines as far as, the fighting and just the story. And and then of course I had to go outside and try to see if I could use the force. But yeah, I really
users,
enjoyed
yeah.
I enjoyed the whole world of Star Wars. And everyone has their favorite character. I enjoyed Han just because,
Han's
like,
your favorite character?
yes, just because he's I
He's an
guess,
outlaw.
yeah, he's like I feel like he's like kind of the first, not anti-hero, but just
Well, yeah,
the
he is. He's a
yeah,
total antithesis of the hero. He's the smuggler. He's the runner. He's the guy who kind
yeah,
of
he
runs
was
from it all.
he was like, he was scum, but at the same time, somewhere in there, he had a good heart. But
Yeah, he had a
yeah,
change
so
of
oh yeah,
heart.
it definitely changed
I won't even
throughout
say he
the.
had a good heart. He had a change of heart.
He had a change of heart. There you go. But for especially with Han, you can see he had I feel like throughout everyone in the Star Wars
Yeah,
uh kind of universe, Han probably had the biggest character arc, from one end to the next end of
yeah,
of his movies. But I mean, Star Wars kind of just always has a special place. I feel like if you're a movie
yeah.
fan, usually Star Wars has a special place in
Well,
your
yeah,
heart.
and I think it's definitely a must for any film buff to watch this film and kind of understand the history behind this film because there's a
Yeah.
lot that aside from just the story there's
Hmm.
a lot that's going on here. What I loved about this film, and I'm like you, I didn't really get into it until I was much older. I want to say I was probably like in my late teens or early 20s when
Okay.
I really watching Star Wars because I remember watching it as a kid and kind of being fascinated and interested by the creatures and the characters,
Right.
but I never really kind of got into the story. And when I was older, that's when I really started to understand the story, understand the characters and the character arcs. Like
Definitely.
the hero from nowhere that is Luke, and you have the Princess Leia who can definitely hold her own on there, and then like
Yes.
what you're talking about, Han, who's like kind of like that tough guy that just kind of only looks out for number one, and kind of seeing how he has that change of heart. Those are the themes that really make this story shine. But again, all the things as I started getting deeper into my love of cinema, and then I go and revisit this film, I start to notice all of the callbacks that you have, like to these
Yeah.
old classic samurai films and classic westerns, and also this adventure film, this adventure story that takes place that is kind of in the vein of a Saturday morning cartoon or the classic 30s and 40s movie serials that they
Yeah.
would used to watch.
Yeah.
They would play before their movies, and like a Buck Rogers, or and so it calls back to all of those things, and so you gain a big appreciation for Star Wars. And what was great about this is that it was, and you can tell, and you kind of alluded to it, was like the budget behind these
Yeah,
films. It wasn't like this big budget. At least the first one wasn't. It was more of like they were working on trying to make. They took anything and everything that they could to make it look like some sort of otherly world thing. And it
yeah,
was, and I think that's one of the best things about this film is the world building. It feels like something that is there from a long time ago, that is run down, it's rusty, it's lived in, and that's what was also great about what George Lucas was able to accomplish with this film, was creating a world that was lived in. And so nobody expected it to be, a
right,
huge success. Nobody really wanted to take a chance on a sci-fi budget film, or sci-fi film that had special effects, and they were like, it's a kid film and nobody's going to make money, we're not going to make money on it. So they're like, yeah, we'll make it, but it didn't really, nobody saw any future in it. So what was interesting about it is that it basically became the biggest grossing film of all time
right.
at that point in time, surpassing Jaws. And that's what was great about this film, is it solidified the summer blockbuster. Jaws kind of started it all, but Star Wars kind of solidified it and said, we can make money in the summer, and we can make money off these bigger budget films, and also sci-fi space films, because nobody wanted to take a chance on it.
Right.
So then right away you start seeing copycats, like Disney, for example, made the Black Hole, and then ironically a lot of
I
people like
did
to
like
say
that
that,
movie.
well,
I did like that movie though.
it
I
wasn't the
liked that
best,
movie.
but
It
they
wasn't
spent
the
a
best, but
ton
I
of money on
enjoyed
that film.
it.
They spent a ton of money on that film. And then also the irony, is a lot of people would say that, oh, well, depending on what side of the fence you are, like if you're a Trek fan or a Star Wars fan, a lot of the Trekkers will be like, oh, well, Trek influenced Star Wars, and without Trek there'd be no Star Wars. That may or may not be true, but I mean, when you look at it, not so much. But the irony is that because of Star Wars, a Star Trek film got made.
That is
And
true. That
so
is true.
I mean, that's the irony there for you. And it's just a great film that is embedded in pop culture.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the references, everybody knows who Darth Vader is, everybody knows the sound of a lightsaber and all these things. And I think that's what's so great about this film is the history behind it, how it's ingrained in our pop culture, and also the just the story itself. It's just a fun, fantasy, science fiction,
Right.
adventure film that you can just get in, and it's exciting. Watching that climax scene where they're trying to destroy this Death Star was so much fun, so much excitement behind it. And even now, I watched it, yesterday, because I knew we were going to do the review, so I just
Right.
wanted to kind of refresh my memory on it. It's still exciting, man, and that stuff
Oh
still
yeah.
holds up. Yes, yeah, you can see the little, you can tell it's miniatures. You can tell, the special effects aren't the best, but that's not the point. The point is the adventure. The point is the story and the characters, and that's what I really loved about this film. Rob, I don't know if you have anything else to
Well, no,
say.
yeah, yeah, no. I mean, just you had talked about it briefly. Uh, but the whole, I mean, the story, I guess, behind the story is something that actually kind of is something I get excited about. Just the whole you were saying that no one really wanted to take a shot on the Star Wars movie, and so Lucas kind of had to do it all on his own,
Yeah,
which is how he got pretty much ownership of Star Wars. It's all his stuff, and how he made so much money off this stuff. So,
yeah,
but just that story of how you were saying, just like no one wanted to take a shot at him, and he did it on his own, and they did everything they could to make this movie, and it's like you said, it's referenced some odd decades later. Even if you've
yeah.
never seen a Star Wars movie,
TV
about Star
shows, other movies. Everybody's always talking about Star Wars or mentioning
Yes.
something about Star Wars. And
Yes.
yeah, it's here forever to stay. And I can't say enough good things about it. I was watching it with my daughter, and she was into it, last night. And so again, it's something that will live on. It's such a great film.
And
Um,
possibly you have, and maybe arguably, I'm sure, but you have the greatest villain of all time in Darth Vader. So there's that.
he's definitely up there. I cannot see there. Sure. And again, he is very, especially in film, he's very villainous. Before you
Yes.
realize his relationship to Luke, and before you get that big reveal, you don't know what was going on. But yeah, you think, man, this guy is totally evil, and then but what hindsight's like, oh, he's not that bad because the end. But
Yeah.
you know, in that moment, I'm sure everybody was like, oh, this guy's like the most evil person ever. Choking
Yes.
people out with his horse claw there. um, yeah, but anyway, well, guys, why don't you comment down below and let us know what you thought of Star Wars, and actually, why don't you let us know what your favorite Star Wars film was, and don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, and also follow us on Instagram for all the behind the scenes content. And also, we're going to be putting up questionnaires about different suggestions that you may want to for us to do retro reviews, like older films that you want us to review. If you put a good one down there, we'll probably pick it. So why don't you make sure to keep an eye out for that.
And remember, we'll catch you on the fence.